Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today is a special. We've been sitting on this one for a little while. What we're going to look at today is, does PPC still affect organic sales? So I'll set the timeline. First, the names of the guests on is Dr. Ellis Whitehead, Lazar is on with us as well, Ivelin Demirov, and of course Brandon Young. So just to give you a bit of backstory, I first heard about these changes when I spoke to Ivelin maybe 2 months ago now. We sat on it for a while just to try and gather as much data and information as possible because it hadn't been fully determined. Why this was going on, I also see Brandon Young drop a video talking about conversion rate and how that affects PPC. I also spoke to Michael Hartman, who couldn't be with us today, but Lazar is here in his place. He's going to cover the data that they've uncovered. And obviously, Ellis is my partner in DataBrill. He has his opinions and the data as well that he's got. So good afternoon, gentlemen. How you doing?
Great.
Excellent. Don't sound too excited. All right, so let's run it in a kind of an order of going around, and people can tell their stories as they've unfolded. So I'll start with Evelyn first, because as I mentioned at the top of the show, and then we'll hand over to Brandon, then Ellis, and then we'll go to Lazar, just so we can set the tone. Evelyn?
Yes.
Off you go.
Yeah. So we were tracking for a while the PPC index and the organic index, and we've seen a clear connection that if you're indexed in using PPC, then you're going to switch to the organic index. In other words, if people click on your advertising and the advertising converts, then you're going to start seeing some ranking in the organic index for that same keyword. But then 2 months ago, we've seen like a change in the code, and we start seeing that Amazon changed something basically, and we wanted to investigate further what exactly changed. And the hypothesis was that maybe they separated the two indexes in a way that if you don't use PPC, you will lose your organic ranking.
Okay.
Well, that started the whole investigation process.
And via that investigation, so that was the hypothesis. Where did you get to next? Because you've run some tests as well, additional to that over the last couple of months. What were your findings on that?
So we've created a poll asking many Amazon sellers if they see correlation between PPC and organic ranking, and 100% of the sellers think that PPC actually helps with organic ranking. Mm-hmm. That's poll that I've set up in my group, but I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook after that that many people actually don't see any help from PPC.
Makes sense.
And then we set up a quick test in my private group where we indexed a brand new keyword for a listing. And then we used PPC exclusively, and we tracked if this will actually help with organic ranking. The keyword was completely invented, not even related to the product, so that we don't get any organic clicks on it. And the result shows that actually PPC is still helping with organic ranking.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add before we pop over to Brandon?
Well, can I ask, did any sales happen on this keyword that was artificial?
No sales. So the only thing we've done is search, find, and then add to cart using that keyword.
I see. Interesting.
Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, so I think what matters is that you have to really understand how the indexing works and how ranking works. The algorithm doesn't care about purchases. So it's really interesting that Evelyn said, I say it right, Evelyn?
Evelyn, yeah.
Evelyn, yeah. So I think the algorithm doesn't care about purchases. Add to carts are where the ranking juice happens. Obviously, you have to maintain a certain ratio of add to cart to checkout for maximum ranking power. I think that, at the end of the day, everything comes down to traffic and conversions. And what we were seeing and I think that it was even longer ago than 2 months ago when we really started to, because we had been testing some things for a while, but it's probably been almost a year since they've been making major changes to the algorithms. And it used to be, and you would look at some of these old PPC courses that are out there with some of these PPC experts and agencies and stuff, that they would just slam a ton of money at any given keywords they really wanted to rank for. And what would end up happening is that every single sale was pretty much a positive towards the ranking. There was never really a negative effect. It was just basically taking the positive add to carts and sales. Basically, we say sales, but it's really the add to carts. But so they would take the sales and they would just add it to the top for the ranking juice, and it wasn't an accurate depiction of what needed to be happening. So what they've done now is, I think that in the conclusion that we've come to recently is that what matters most is your conversions. So your overall organic conversion or overall conversion rate that Amazon sees is the leading indicator for rank on a given keyword. And then you also have to understand, this is a long conversation, but you have to also understand how all of the keywords you bid on relate to other keywords given Amazon's algorithm, because they take away all the conjunctions and then they add all of the plurals to basically mean the same thing. And then you have phrase match, broad match on top of that. And at different percentages, you get credit. So one given keyword in PPC performing poorly can affect a whole host of keywords negatively overall for organic rank. Because now that they're taking into consideration the PPC performance for the overall performance and then ranking you based on the overall performance of your comparatively to your competitors. Now PPC matters. The performance of PPC matters a lot more. I hope that everyone listening follows. So essentially, it's all about the overall conversion of a product on every single keyword. You have to understand that it's not just a single keyword performance, that it's a whole basically tree full of branches that can affect, many different, one keyword can affect many different keywords when you're bidding on them in your PPC campaigns. And so you have to really be very precise and efficient with your PPC and understand what you're bidding on, how it's going to affect your ranks, what you're trying to accomplish. And what we found is that the poor performing keywords will negatively impact our organic ranks. It's often better to synthesize or to make some outside marketing that can directly impact those keywords rather than use PPC, especially if the bidding is very high. Maybe your price is higher than your competitors and you're going to have a lower conversion rate. So this is all good that we've discovered all this, because then we can play within rules a little bit better. But this is what we've discovered.
And in terms of, we're going back to we use the words conversion. So we're talking add to carts. Put that aside for 1 second. You're talking about the conversions through PPC. And when you're talking about the search terms, are you talking about the effect it has on related search terms? So if you've got a relevant keyword, this, for a better word, is garlic press, right? Hideous product, obviously. But you have a garlic press. So are we talking about the negative impact it would have is on, metal garlic press or garlic press with handle, so that's, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that's the, so everything with the words garlic and press in exact order would be your phrase match, right?
Yeah.
And we know, we kind of know the percentages given like some inside information plus like some of our own tests and data, like a lot of our own data. If you're bidding on garlic press and it's doing poorly or good, it's going to impact all phrase match of garlic press about 50%. Now, what's interesting is that the plural form, the exact plural form, so garlic presses, would be impacted by about 80%. And then your broad match, which would be basically the words but out of order, so garlic red press or something like that, press garlic, just same words but different order. And you could throw other words in there, but that's like more of a broad match. That's going to be impacted at about a 30% rate. So understanding like how what you're bidding on impacts your other keywords that you're trying to rank for, and at what percentage is super important so that you can run your PPC much more efficiently. This isn't about throwing a bunch of money at PPC just to rank anymore. It's about PPC needs to become an overall strategy and much more precise. You need to be with a scalpel and much precision now.
Okay, makes sense. Evelyn, do you want to add anything here from what Brandon's been speaking about before we move over to Ellis?
No, go ahead.
Okay, Ellis, do you want to step in and give some of your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to ask Brandon something about what he was saying. And that is, you were saying that your overall conversion rate on a product in PPC will impact your PPC ranking, so to speak, or how likely Amazon is to show your ads for every keyword. For that, is that right?
Not necessarily to show your ads. I mean, just to index and show up are two different things. I'm talking specifically about ranking.
Okay, so when you say ranking, you mean the organic ranking, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and so what you were saying was that your total PPC conversion rate, let's say let's say maybe you're advertising on 20 different keywords, and then you also have an auto campaign going, which has various ASINs in it and all that sort of stuff. And so you're saying that your organic ranking on one of those keywords is also dependent upon the conversion rate on the ASINs in the auto campaign.
So it's interesting. The ASINs, like if you consider the ASINs to be more of a product targeting, we've noticed that product targeting ads show up on search results based on the indexing that Amazon attributes to those ASINs. So basically related keywords. So I don't know exactly how the auto and product targeting would result in on the keyword searches organic rank. But we do know that if Amazon is targeting a specific keyword, how it affects all related keywords to that keyword. So broad, phrase, plural forms of that keyword.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what would you say about something like, let's say you have gloves for girls, gloves for boys, gloves for children. Let's say you're selling children's gloves. Okay. And so are you saying that your PPC performance on gloves for girls will impact your ranking on gloves for boys?
So gloves for girls and gloves for boys. No, I mean, so you have to look at roots, and you have to understand, like, really all they're sharing are gloves, because for is ignored by Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have all of your prepositions that are ignored there.
So
okay. Really,
so
the only impact there that's shared, I think, is gloves.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I had misunderstood that way. So it's not that you're saying that everything that's happening in your PPC affects your organic ranking on all keywords.
No, it's all related, but you have to understand how people don't understand how wide that impact is generally, because your gloves for boys is also impacting red gloves for boys, boys gloves, things like that. Glove, all of the plural, broad, and phrase matches of those roots.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Ellis, do you want to go into some of the data that you've looked at? Like when we were having some of these discussions, you were a bit unsure because you've seen a positive effect across a larger amount of accounts.
Yeah. So,
what's your updated thought process on this now?
So I don't see any major changes. I don't see any major changes. I mean, we had some changes going on a couple times. Like in October, we generally saw across the board a higher percentage of sales coming through PPC. Mm-hmm. So that meant that the total ACOS ended up going up. So that's not a favorable thing. And presumably that's because Amazon was using more space for advertising than it had been before. Mm-hmm. And so there was less opportunity to generate sales through the organic positioning and more opportunity to generate sales through PPC, which of course means your PPC costs go up relative to your total profit.
Yeah. Can I ask you a follow-up on that real quick, Ellis?
Sure.
So are you tracking your keyword ranks at the same time, and are you tracking the promotional positioning of the products at the same time?
Yeah. That said,
were you seeing your organic ranks falling at all?
I think what we need to clarify here as well is the nature of the launches that you're doing is probably a lot different to the management of larger accounts that we do, Brandon.
Yeah, of course.
So the approach will probably be different, therefore giving you slightly different results.
Yeah. So the two reasons I would see your total A cost go up is that organic rank falls. The other thing is that your promotional positioning on different keywords changes because Amazon has introduced all of those bars of editor's choice, more from our brands, all that bullshit. So, whereas you were positioned 4 before, now you're still positioned 4 organically, but really
but you're way down the page.
You're way down the page, really. So that impacts your organic sales as well.
Exactly.
And the other part of that, I think the last part, which is what we've noticed, and the reason is that, and part of it is the organic rank falling, is that we've noticed a death spiral that people get trapped into now with PPC because they don't understand that the negative PPC is having a negative impact. And when I say negative PPC, I mean like lower converting PPC. Mm-hmm. So they spend more and more on PPC because they think that they need to try to get that organic rank back. And now their total A cost is going up. Their total A cost is going up. Their total A cost is going up. Their organic sales are going down, down, down. And now most of your revenue is coming from PPC to the point where you've lost all profitability in the product.
Right.
And
don't want to do that.
And it's like a death spiral. So we've seen better results from basically leaning out all of our PPC and almost turning most of it off or spending very little on the most precise campaigns that are performing the best.
May I throw something in here quickly? I think another thing, and Ivelin does a lot of this in terms of tracking, we reference a lot of time based on desktop. So we talk about the amount of ads because we look at desktop.
Right.
But it's not, and the adjustment isn't, for what I've seen, is the same proportion as mobile. And mobile can't be dismissed in terms of that purchase cycle as well. So we have to take that into consideration as well. Because I see, like you get like almost like scaremongering posts. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, there's 5 ads at the top of desktop. I don't know the actual, the updated amount of users that are either searching to buy it on mobile. Ivelin, could you step in here? What is the current percentage? Do you know? Shoppers that are buying from mobile now as opposed to desktop?
This year, the projections is about 80% mobile versus desktop.
Yeah. So that's quite a substantial amount when you consider we look at desktop, we discuss like how you push down for organic rank. We've also got to take into consideration the fight for the 2 ad spots in most cases on mobile as well. Anyway, sorry, I busted in there. I just thought I'd bring that to the attention of the group.
Sure. Yep. So what we've generally seen is, we've seen these changes happening, but we haven't seen a major change in the effectiveness of PPC, except for certain clients where it seems like the So we do have some clients where they're having a hard time getting impressions, but this is an exception. And otherwise, we've taken, we did a test, for example, where we took a product that had been selling very steadily with very low PPC, almost no PPC going on for the past year or so. And so we started going aggressive on PPC on it, and this led over the last couple months to a tripling of its total sales, with about I think this time it's aggressive, about 40 or 50% of those sales coming through PPC, but the total sales organically as well have gone way up. And so we then tried this with some other products. So I think it was a total of 5 that are relatively low competition, and the improvements in the increases in the sales velocity was basically irrefutable. And then we've tried it with some high velocity products as well, where their PPC spend was kept kind of artificially low. And so we went higher on the PPC to see what impact could that have on the organic rank, where these products were selling well, but they did not have they weren't in the top 3 for organic rank or whatever. So their organic rank could improve. And we also saw an increase in overall sales. Did not look more into this with regard to what happened to their organic rank, but the total sales increased at basically the same rate that the PPC sales increased. So the percentage of PPC sales did increase a little bit, or sales that came through PPC did increase a little bit, but not super significantly. So at least for those tests, we saw the usual kind of impact on total sales that we would expect coming through PPC.
Makes sense.
I mean, expect from, past behavior.
Cool. Evelyn, Brandon, do you want to step in and comment on Ellis's feedback before we go to Lazar? I feel like we're leaving him out. He needs to have his little piece. No, you're good.
Yeah.
Go on.
I would just say that not tracking the keyword ranks there, which you said you didn't really, is something that's a key piece to that, because you could see results in the short term, but if you're sacrificing the long term organic rank of the product, which is where the real money comes from, the highest profitability of it, your tacos is obviously in the short term increasing, and your overall sales are in the short term increasing. I think the goal is to be as lean as possible and maximize the organic conversions and organic revenue. That would be that's our goal, is to try to maximize that, not to try to maximize overall revenue if it's not at a significant profit.
Yeah. So the reason we didn't, when I say we didn't try, we did track the keywords. I haven't evaluated the results. But what we did look at, so what we were looking at was the total profit. And so total profit did go up. Of course, since PPC sales took a larger percentage of that, the kind of margin after PPC ended up going down. I mean, the total cost went up a little bit, but yeah, we definitely did see the total profit going up in there.
Yeah, so we've seen in the short term that those results as well. The thing to track is to make sure that it doesn't start to dwindle and you end up in that death spiral that I was talking about. So you just have to make sure.
This was, I'm not sure what you mean by long term, but this was the last 2 months we've ran since we started discussing this. So it's been 2 months that it's been going okay.
Yeah.
I mean, going well, increasing.
Yeah.
Okay, Lazar, let's step up to the plate.
Yeah, thank you. Well, to be honest, for the last couple of months, people are talking about this, and everybody's really scared about what's going on here, and nobody can tell you like with like 100% like certainty that it's real thing. I can tell you from my perspective by the data that we have in our agency and by what we're doing, and we're also tracking organic keyword ranking. And also, like when we are doing push campaigns for certain keywords, we are checking what's going on with.
Can you explain what push for the audience? Can you explain what I know what a push campaign is, but can you explain what a push campaign is?
Of course, when it comes to push campaigns, we use certain keywords that we want to improve rank for and to basically improve visibility for those keywords for our product, and like create specific campaigns with in exact form and increase basically all the metrics, including bids, to try to rank better and to improve performance of that keyword for that specific product. Like what we've seen is basically that if you're not doing well with those keywords in those push campaigns, you're doing a really negative thing to your account. It sounds really, really bad, but like let's take a different perspective. It's a really good thing, because if you just came with your new product and you want to rank for certain keywords, you're probably going to steal some advertising space from somebody else that is already selling that kind of product for a longer time, and he's established seller with like well-known brand and well-known product. And like if you just go there and invest like 10, 20K, doesn't matter, like you cannot just come there and steal sales from him in that manner. It used to be something that was pretty common, but I feel like that today you need to take a look at bigger picture and consider your PPC just one part of your overall business. And like the biggest thing is like when we listen what Jeff says in his interviews, one of the main things that he's mentioning there is like his customers and quality that Amazon is bringing to customers. And Amazon is a marketplace where sellers come and sell their own stuff. And basically advertising space on Amazon and organic positions on Amazon are basically real estate. And like go in a different position and try to think like Amazon. And like, would you place somebody there that is willing to invest some money and like to show up on position number one without any sales, with bad conversion rate and with bad click-through rate? You're probably not going to do it.
May I just step in? You've heard of these things, they're called auto campaigns. Amazon will hoover up your money, give them the chance. They've also got, different targeting types so that you've got your idiot tax. The whole point is, as they've expanded the platform, you're going to get non-relevant terms as well. So in one case, I agree with you. Amazon is focused customer first and going back. But if they really wanted to help out the advertiser as well, they wouldn't give you loads of shitty search terms for if you're not that very knowledgeable in terms of running auto campaigns or.
At the beginning, they're going to let you do it because they want algorithm to learn. Like if you look at AdWords or some other platforms, you have quality score and you need to get some traction and some history for those keywords before you get your CPC at the right place and to generate like good sales. So Amazon is letting you test different stuff until you reach certain point with enough impressions, enough sales, and with click-through rates. So what is really important, as Brandon said, is add to cart. And like when you get a specific search term, search query, and you get your product added to cart at a higher level than your competitors, you're going to do way better than them. And that's, I think, literally the biggest metric that you want to follow to be as good as possible when it comes to add to cart. And then to CTR. And purchase is maybe on the third place, I think. And after that, it's your listing optimization. And of course, you have an awesome product at the end. But like add to cart is the important part for you. Like what we tried and what we tested, and that's something that can affect a lot. Like when you do, as I said, push campaigns and you invest a lot, and if your CTR is good, if your conversion rate is good, you're really helping with your PPC. But if your conversion rate is bad, if your CTR is really low, under the average in the category, you're doing really bad thing for yourself, and you're going to end up spending a lot of money with bad CPC, and your impressions are going way down just because of that.
I want to piggyback on that, because those are exactly our findings. Like good is going to help your organic rank and your product, bad is going to hurt it. I think that because that magic piece that no one knows how to truly calculate, because it's hidden in the algorithm, is that quality score that they assign. We know that there's a quality score for each product. There's a quality score for buyers and sellers. There's a quality score on the ad level for each keyword, for each ad group, for each campaign level. So all of these things have quality scores. And so even if you have good keywords with bad keywords in your ad group, you're impacting the quality score of your ad group negatively. So having too many keywords in an ad group is bad too. If you're going to have poor performing and good performing in the same one,
they'll drag them down. Yeah,
they'll drag them down, the average. And at the end of the day, it comes down to understanding versus your competitors. So getting the data of your competitors is key as well. And obviously, Amazon doesn't provide that, but there are brokers out of China, black hat ways to get them, where you can just buy the data for $200, $250, right? Like you can get their PPC campaigns, you can get their business reports, and you know exactly where they're converting, what their click-through rate is, and things like that. And it gives you a bar. And I'm not saying we do or don't do this. Obviously, got to plead the fifth, but the just giving yourself a target to be around or above with your market leaders is key, because then we know how our own add to cart conversions and click-through rates are going to be impacting the overall performance of the product. Plus, we know faster whether to abandon a product just because it isn't the right design, size, package, whatever just isn't working, how quickly we need to make changes and optimize images, size of the product, design of the product, all those different things that impact your click-through rate and conversions. And the last thing I want to add, based on what Lazar said, which is absolutely true, is that Amazon is preventing what happened to the Chinese e-commerce platforms like Taobao. Taobao used to be a wide open market with a lot of opportunity for sellers, and then everything became about advertising. Whoever spent the most money made the most sales. And I think Amazon is going in the right direction with regards to sales becoming your PPC becoming a little bit less important as far as your overall sales, but more important for dictating who deserves to be placed in the top organic spots. And so, you can do your outside marketing and traffic in order to make sure that your organic rank, if you're very good at ManyChat, Facebook ads, Google ads, driving high converting traffic to your listing, you're going to maintain a higher rank than your competitors who are relying on PPC and then the organic traffic and conversions. So I think the overall message and what we've taken from this is that you have to become really good at brand building and off Amazon marketing, and you have to know your numbers. The people that are just getting lucky and throwing shit at the wall, those days are over. You need to know exactly, you need to optimize your listing better. You need better content. You need better brand building, and you need to know how to do off Amazon marketing to succeed in the future.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I would like to jump in for a second, if it's not a problem. Like as Brandon mentioned, ManyChat sequences and off Amazon traffic. Like it can do really bad stuff for you if it's not converting, if CTR is bad and so on. Like I had some examples when people ended up being de-indexed for a whole bunch of keywords just because they pushed really hard with ManyChat sequences, but for the wrong audience. And you end up with like 50% of your regular sales instead of like increasing those sales.
Yeah, you can negatively impact your keyword ranks the same exact way with outside traffic as you can with PPC traffic. Because Amazon's looking at your overall click-through rate and conversion rates for the product. Like I said when I first spoke, was that the overall performance of your product is what matters most. The PPC is just a part of that. The outside traffic is just a part of that. So knowing your overall numbers and then being able to back out those numbers that you're driving there with PPC, that you're driving there with outside traffic, and then getting a true organic, and then being able to raise that true organic up so that with optimization is important. And then through your ManyChat sequences, you need to qualify the buyers, make sure that when they go there, they're going to add to cart and purchase the product at a high enough conversion rate to make sure that you're staying above your competition, or at least positively impacting your ranks versus negatively impacting them. And the mistake I see a lot of people make is that they'll run a Facebook ad and then the click-through is straight to the product. Now they're driving a ton of non-converting traffic, and it's really bad for their ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Evelyn, anything you want to add here?
No, I'm glad everyone is on the same page. So yeah, nothing to add.
Excellent. Ellis, would you like to add anything before we move on?
I suppose just to kind of restate what I'd said before, I have not. So for us, we're continuing more or less the way we have been before, because we haven't seen any major changes. So the stuff that was working for us 2 months ago or 3 months ago is still working. Today.
Yeah, and it goes back to the way that launches are done in the type of brands that we manage on the agency as well. Like Brandon will have a completely different, and I'm sure Lazar will have the same kind of process for launching products as Brandon. You know, there's close links there. There's Michael Hartman. There's there's a crew of people that do things in a certain way as well. So there is their points of differentiation. Now, one thing I'd like to add into here now as well is anyone using the brand analytics data, we're starting to integrate it into what we're doing. I see a few presentations whilst I was away where they were using the brand analytics data as guides when I was over in China. So, Brandon, are you doing anything with brand analytics at this stage?
Yeah, for sure. To a lesser extent, that's the same data that I'm talking about, is understanding your numbers and the number, even the numbers of your competitors. So it helps set those benchmarks for you to understand how well you need to be performing on specific keywords. Yeah. And then you have to understand what you're doing with regards to PPC and what keywords you're targeting with all of your additional marketing on Amazon and off Amazon, how it impacts those whole host of keywords, the broad phrase and plural matches. Yeah. So we look at the numbers very closely of our competition in a lot of different ways, and use those as benchmarks to understand how a product is performing versus our competition, and whether it's something that we need to continuously, obviously we're always trying to improve, and we need to know, where we need to get to for a product to even be viable long term. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Just a quick jump. Sorry for interrupting literally every 5 minutes. When it comes to brand analytics, it's really cool that you can see who is your customer, like what type of audience are you having. So if you're driving external traffic, you can create ads that are specifically targeting that type of people, like young men or young women or...
You're talking about the demographic information that's based on the US accounts.
100% that's relevant. Your audience relevancy will impact your keyword, your organic keyword ranks higher or lower. So you send that young male that he's talking about to your product and at purchase, that's going to have a higher impact than sending an elderly woman to your listing and having them purchase. So that goes back to the quality score of your buyer. Which is on two levels, their own quality score, but also the relevancy to your product, which is really interesting. So the algorithm takes into account so many different things, and then those are all multipliers that can impact your efficiency. Absolutely. Yeah.
Ellis, do you want to explain how you've been integrating the PPC data, the organic rankings, and how we're leveraging brand analytics as well, especially for clients that have the top 3 positions of those search terms, and how we equate and balance that off against the competition itself.
Right. So it's really great data, and And so we're at the beginning of figuring out how it is that we can best use this, but currently how we use it is for finding the competitors that we want that are most relevant to a product, and then for using these ASINs for doing product targeting where appropriate. And then based on the competitor ASINs to also looking up what keywords are they doing well for selecting the relevant keywords for our clients' products so that we can target them. And then we compare, as Brandon was saying, we're comparing our click-through or our conversion rates with the conversion rates that we get for these top products in the from the brand analytics data. And we don't have to have as good of conversion rates as the top ones. If you just want to increase your ranking, you don't have to be better than the top. But it's a good what's the term? It's like a good thing to compare against.
A benchmark.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good benchmark. And it also, with the rankings, it gives you a good sense for the search volume. And so it's not unusual for clients to, they've done some keyword research and they come with the keywords they want to use for launching a product, or a new client comes in, they've already done their keyword research a year or so ago, and so we can look at these and see, there are a bunch of these keywords that aren't even in the brand analytics data. Yeah. So we know that their search volume is, below a certain threshold on average. So that, helps us not spend time trying to pursue keywords that don't have much potential.
Yeah.
And then also, by looking at the search volumes, you can start getting a sense for how high do you want to shoot, like how main keyword do you want to get for certain products, or do you want to go after, and then comparing that with your conversion rates and the conversion rates of the best sellers. So that's how we're using it right now. Finding the ASINs, finding more keywords, and looking at the potential of these keywords, of the various keywords for going after them.
So I just want to interject there. So we're talking about search frequency rather than search volume, right?
Yes. Yeah. But of course, you look at this stuff enough and you get a certain sense.
You get a feel for it. Yeah. No, that makes sense, because it won't be named, but there's a company out there that are promoting that they've now got real search volume data again. Brandon, you probably know about this as well. So I asked you the other day that information is not coming via the API. Evelyn, have you seen any real search volume? Or is it just someone's found a new backdoor to real search volume, if it does exist, or they're lying in their marketing? I don't know.
There's actually a new data that is coming from PPC, which is keyword volume.
Okay.
We're currently exploring that.
Okay, cool. Brandon, you seen anything?
I think we've noticed that the numbers aren't too far off. It is interesting when we can find a bunch of supposedly long tail keywords with only a couple hundred searches, but we're getting a ton of impressions. But again, I think that just goes back to the way that Amazon ties a lot of the keywords together. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're still here.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
What we're doing, we're hanging off of every word. So, and then there was silence.
No, my screen had froze for a second. I don't know
same as mine. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so I think that what matters is just how Amazon ties all the keywords together and then the credit that they give. So a long tail keyword might impact positively or negatively a whole host of keywords with a lot of search volume.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the confusion people get, is like, well, I was told this only has 500 searches a month, but I've gotten 5,000 impressions in the last 3 days. Well, it's probably because the different types of keywords that it's impacting, as far as roots and everything, is much more extensive than you even think or know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Well, we're coming up to about the hour mark. So what I'd like to do is, obviously it benefits the audience, I'd like to go around and get some examples of how people should be testing on their accounts, yeah? Just to go off and get their own data. It's been great to get all the different views here today. People are going to get different interpretations, but starting with you, Ellis, if you were to set up to test this on your own account, what are some of the protocols you would put in place for a steady test?
Okay, so first thing, I wouldn't do it. I think it's probably a waste of time.
Right.
But if I saw that for my products, it is worth my putting time into testing this, then the challenge is that it's very difficult to draw very good conclusions. But you could do something, if you can do something like take a product that has not been selling a whole lot and start advertising on that, then you could see what the impact of that is on your keyword rankings and your total sales versus your PPC sales. Or you could take a product that's selling well, but where there's been very limited PPC, and start increasing your increase your PPC on that and see what the impact is. And then if you want to go into these finer details, like looking at the conversion rates of individual keywords and how that kind of thing impacts you, I think it's just as an individual you'd be getting in over your head. That's the kind of thing that it has to be your full-time job to make that worth it.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Brandon?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Am I here?
Yeah, you here?
All right. It's like my monitor and what I'm seeing and hearing is a little off. I'm sorry, guys. No, I think that knowing your numbers is the key to success moving forward. Like I said, I mean, understanding the relationship between all the keywords that you build, how you build your listing, optimize your listing is super important. Knowing that, like obviously phrase match is in plurals are very important, broad match, and the reduction in ranking juice you get from the way you even build your listing, and then the ranking juice that you get from targeting those keywords with marketing, and then how it can positively impact or negatively impact your overall organic rank, and then how your overall organic rank is probably the most important thing. So keeping track of the keyword ranks, and then understanding how your marketing and your overall numbers can affect that keyword rank. Now, obviously, like what Lazar said earlier is true. You have a history, and so you have a lot of different averages that build up. And when you first launch a product, like you guys deal with a lot of established products and big brands, so your approach is very different. And so for us who don't have that name recognition a lot of times with our branding, we just have to look better. We have to make a better offer. We have to be significantly better than what's on the page to convert better with the lower reviews, especially when we first launch. So understanding that you have to be that much better than your competition, and paying attention to content, paying attention to your marketing, and then paying attention to your keyword ranks, and then what you're doing and how it impacts all of those different keywords. So I think the overall holistic approach is really, really important moving forward.
Sounds good. Evelyn, you're forever testing. Is there anything you'd like to add in terms of people setting up tests for the future? Have we lost him? Are you still there, Evelyn? While we're waiting for Evelyn to come back, Lazar, what's your take?
Well, if you're not going forward, it doesn't mean that you're staying at the place. It means that you're going backwards. So always do A/B tests when it comes to PPC, but be super careful, double check your ranking, and don't create a campaign and leave it that way for 10 days, not knowing what's going on. Always double check what's happening and test different stuff, but not a lot of them at the same time.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you want to, Brandon, let people know how they can reach you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, my public group Seller System Succeeding on Amazon FBA is a good place to join. You can also find me brandonmyoung.com.
Cool. And Lazar?
People can reach out to me through website or sending an email on office@sellersalley.com or basically on Facebook.
Excellent. Ellis?
Yep, as always, through you.
Okay, we'll do that. And as Evelyn's dropped off the call, go and check out his Facebook group, Orange Hat Marketing on Facebook. Do a search, go in there, lots of decent stuff, like Brandon's group as well. Very high level, good quality content. Hope you enjoyed this session today. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.